welcome to my channel. Welcome. I am Zoe Alex. Welcome. Today is a special day. Today is going to be a happy to a Sunday of October 22nd of 2023. And this is a basically way of how it is. I know for a fact that this seems to be very interesting, very contribute. And normally I don't do the Bible very often. I don't do it, but this just seems to be very interesting of how everything kind of is. It's a very outgoing subject. It's a very peaceful way of how it is because I think my own words. Just saying, I think my own words that we do whatever we decide to do. There's a way of how progress is progress. And whenever you see about that, you think about, okay, then why we need progress. Progressing is a very way of how we can teach ourselves to know about what's going on, what's behind us, what's happening, why we have lots of chaos, why we have conflict, why we're not getting along with people, or we have all these studies, and we always have to have this way of knowing from the outcome and the way of how it is, because it seems to be that it seems to be how that is, right? And normally it is fantastic of how it is, right? It's basically how I can understand about what's happening and whether it is very good, very interesting, very fantastic motivation, it's basically how that is. So when you think about it, you think, okay, this is how it seems to be, and normally it is interesting of how that is, right? So you have to focus, you have to believe on what's happening, whether it's good, whether it's bad, but it's happening from that, right? It's happening from that way of that conclusion, that way of how it is, right? So when you think about it, you think about, okay, am I doing this interesting way and how I can make it more better? So with further ado, without any question, just shuffling the cards that I have here, and then I'll read you what the Bible verses says, and this is how it seems to be, okay? So think about this as a wonderful reading, and we're going to start this reading off, and then this is going to be very interesting. It's a way of how it is. So so here we go. All right, so this is the first one. This is going to be forgive and you shall be forgiven. Luke 6:37. So this is not be this is good because in a way of how it is, we're going to figure out that out about you know in that way, right? What this picture means. So we're going to look what the Bible says in that particular outcome, that way of how you can identify it and understand what's happening. So this is not going to be a long video, but if it is, it is. Let's see. Let's see. Luke 15:10. So we go all the way to 15. Oh, 15. So 15:10 is Luke. Oh, chapter 6, page 37, I believe. So this is just all Luke, because this can be a good chapter anyway. So normally I don't do the Bible, but I'm doing it anyway. Okay, so this is Luke. Uh, let's see. All right, so this is judging others. Now I'll read you this bit because it's between the end of 637, but or page 37, but and then I'll read you to the end. So here we go. Judging others. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you'll be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. He also told them this parable. Can the blind lead the blind? Will they not both fall into a pit? The student is not above the teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like their teacher. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye? Pay no attention to the plank in your own eye. How can you say to your brother, Brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when when you use when you yourself fail to see the plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. You know, it kind of is that way of how it is. It's that principle, that simple, that way of how it is, because normally that is how the way of how it is, right? Because you cannot judge others, you can't, understand what's happening, and it's that simple where it is, right? Like it's the way of how it is. Like no, normally it kind of depends on how it is, right? There's a way how you could think about that. You can understand what's happening. You can understand both the pros, the cons, the way of how it is, right? And when you think about it, you think, okay, well, I get this. I get what the Bible is telling me. It's that simple, you know. When you have a speck of something in your eye and it's hurting your eye, you have to rescue it. You have to do something about it. But in that note, you have to think like, okay, am I doing this right? And previous after previous after previous, it's a way of how you can understand that momentum. It's that way of how you can get things done in order to deal with it. It's the way of how you can understand of how you can be selective and understand of what's happening. It's that simple. And whether or not you have to believe on what's happening through your own way, right? It's that simple. It's that way of how you can contrast and admit about what's happening through your own way, right? If you think that you have a blinded eye, or you did something to it, or you did something that you shouldn't have, or there's always these reasons. There's always these underway of how you can understand of what's happening. You know. Now I'll just gonna give you a playing card because that's how it kind of is at the moment, and see what's going on. Now you don't know why Zoe Alex is doing a playing card. Well, let me explain. It kind of gives you a different outlook, but it seems to be how that is, because you have to focus, you have to believe, you have to understand about what's happening. You know, like if I do this and I say, okay, well, that's how one thing is, then you understand of what's happening, right? So as you can see, we're going to do a playing card. Playing card represents the five of clubs, but it represents something else through the playing card ritual. It's a different way of how you could say it. It's you can look it up on your phone, and I'm going to look it up on my phone. Like it says here, uh, because this is not gonna be a long video. Um, if I look at the five of clubs, it represents basically, education. It could represent different kinds of things like their mental attitudes, their partner, which causes the marriage to falter. Um, there's a lot, right? And this, the five of clubs, I'm going to show it to you. It kind of represents the way of like the karmic challenge for the five of clubs is would be honesty and risk taking. That could represent that. So overall, if I could do honesty, like if I look at the word honesty, and if I go to the Bible, I'll look through the Bible and I'll read that story too for you. Like I say, this is not a long video. Like if I look at John 8:32, now that's a good chapter there. So I'll John 8:32. Okay, so let's see. Let me see in the Bible. So what is it? John 8:32. Okay. Let's see. So 1567. 1567. Okay, this is John chapter 8. Chapter 8, page 32. Uh, this is a long chapter because this is despite over those children Jesus' opponents are like that's a long chapter, but like it is says honesty. So if I just read like a bit of it, then I can understand. But if I'm just going to read this a little bit, I'll read this a little bit. For dispute over those children Jesus' opponents are, it says, to the Jews who had believed him, Jesus said, if you hold to my teaching, you're really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. That's the 32. That's the 8 and 32, I believe. Um, that's what it says. I don't know if it says my phone, but yeah, yeah. So it seems to be that in that category. Um, it's that simple where we believe in what we're looking for. It's that diagram, it's that perspective, it's that way of how you could do this as long as you need to. It's that way of how you can manifest your own decisions of what's happening through your own peace of mind. It's a way of how you can understand of what's happening through the Bible and understand about the messages and beliefs and everything else. It's that category, it's that progression, it's that way of how you can get things done in order to do that. It's the way of how you can understand of what's happening. And whether or not it seems to be that, I think my own mind where everything can be all peaceful, everything can be all great and satisfactory, guaranteed. But in the way of how it is, it's that simple, you know. So before I let you all go, I hope that this is a good way of how it is, and enjoy. And I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye for now. Bye.